and thanks for joining us on our show, Basic Concepts in the Wisdom of Kabbalah with Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello, Dr. Laitman. Hello, hello. On this show, we take a concept at a time from the tremendous wisdom of Kabbalah and try to explain it in the simplest way for a person who just started taking interest in the wisdom of Kabbalah in a way that will directly touch your heart. So our concept for today is the last generation. And before we begin, I'd like to share a feeling that I have. When I hear the words, the last generation, it really stresses me out. It feels like the end of the world is coming. How are you dealing with it? I'm dealing with it fine. I'm very calm and quiet and happy. First of all, because the last generation in this world says about something that comes to an end. These are probably good times, a good period in which the world is reaching some kind of goal. And this goal probably was predetermined. And we're going into this state in a good way, that we know that we belong to the last generation, to the people that are probably implementing the thought of creation. And it's good that the entire world will develop until it reaches its completion. Olam, world, in Hebrew comes from the word ha'alem, concealment. And so it's good for us to see a new world. That's really intriguing. I wrote down a few bullets that I'd like for you to elaborate on. First of all, you said that something is coming to an end. What is coming to an end? When you say the last generation, what comes to an end there? What comes to an end in the last generation is an era, a very long one, in which humanity advanced towards its end, and then it reaches a state called the last generation. The last generation means that this generation will discover the purpose of their development, the end of development, and a new world that appears right after. A new world means that the old world ended and something new begins. Yes, so the last generation, when you say that it came to an end, it's not the end of everything. No, this is something that can't happen. We are in an infinite development. But this period that we lived in which we had no idea what do we need to do, how should we be, what are we supposed to be like in this new corrected form, it is all coming to an end. So the new corrected form that's beginning now, it actually opens that new world as you put it before. Yes, and that new world is called the world of the last generation. Yes. Okay, let's leap into this picture a second. What is it like? What do you have there that we're not familiar with? We're changing. And along with it, the perception of the world in relation to us is changing too. That where we had no idea about what are we developing towards, we will know. What are we supposed to achieve? We will know too. What will happen to us? after we reach the goal called the last generation, we'll know as well, meaning this is a real good period, meaning that you know, and you attain. What do you mean by to attain? That we attain, that we feel, that we enter a new life. What's new about it exactly? That we discover the upper force that accompanied us all this time, teaching us, taking us through different states, and we didn't exactly know what do we exist for, why, how, and here we're starting to achieve the purpose of our development. What is the purpose of our development? The most exalted purpose. To discover the upper force, the Creator, the force that governs all of reality, corrects us, elevates us to the uppermost degree where we come to know Him, where we come to know what the last generation is and who the Creator is. How will that be implemented in the day-to-day life of the people in the last generation? A very clear and tangible understanding of what does the world exist for, what does it need to come to, and how should it exist. And we will be adapted to that final form of development that we'll achieve. What kind of relations will people have there? Love another as yourself? And in people's deeds and how they live their life, how will it be expressed in love another as yourself? What do you mean by it? That we will reach such a good attitude toward each other that a place in our heart will open to feel good things towards others, towards everyone. And in that we will discover a new attitude towards everyone, a new world, new people. Everything's going to change for the better when we will all become as one man and one heart. Now that you mentioned it, it really excited me. What will open in our heart? An attitude in which each loves the others, is included of everyone, and this way will continue our new development. This is called the last generation. Not that we're now in the last generation and that this generation is coming to an end, which is also true, but a vision, a sensation, the heart opens. The heart opens up to feel the new form of our existence, in which all of us are in mutual love and connection. So there are two things already that I heard you say. At first, you talked a lot about acknowledgement, understanding, the wisdom, and now you're talking about the heart that opens up and feels. What will be the combination between intellect and emotion in the last generation? It says about it that every person will see from the end of the world to its end, that he will know the beginning of creation and its end, that a person will connect with all the created beings and there will be room for everyone in his heart. There will be room for everyone in a person's heart, and the Creator will fill the connection between people. It will be like a generation of Einsteins? No, it has nothing to do with knowledge, even though that knowledge will also be unlimited, limitless. But we will feel who we are, what do we exist for, what have we developed for thousands of centuries. And especially we will feel and know the upper force that governs us. and we will discover him, that he fulfills the whole of reality, all of creation. A person that will live in the last generation, when he will get up in the morning, what will he think about? It's hard to describe, but first of all, he'll know, what does he exist for? What did he get up in the morning for? He'll know that the main thing for him is to develop love towards the world. He'll know, what should he develop love for the world for? He'll become included of everyone, and everyone will become included of him. At night, before he falls asleep, what will he think about? About how will he continue that same advancement towards everyone, just like today, that he'll do the same tomorrow and even more. What kind of pressure will he feel in life? Just one. How can I better love everyone? Will he have fears, anxieties? Of course not. Why not? Because he'll love everyone. He'll want to connect with everyone. He'll want to impart good upon everyone. And he'll discover that everyone loves him and treats him the same way, and that it is all governed by the Creator. How much depression will he have in the world in the last generation? 0. Why? Because there's no reason for it. No reason. Everyone will rejoice their existence in such a world of good and utter love that is really burning between everyone. Bala Sulam writes that the last generation will be the time of world peace, meaning what? That there will never ever be a feeling or thought or bad attitude in the tiniest thing between man and his friend, even on the international level, on all levels. What about ecology? How will humanity treat nature? Just like each treats everyone else favorably, the same way everyone will treat nature as a whole. The more you depict this picture of the last generation, I really feel that a person there changes. It's not the same person who I am today or the people around me, but these are different creatures living there. What's different about them? What changed about them essentially? What changes is that human nature will become corrected from an egoistic desire of receiving and enjoying others, succeeding at the expense of others, that people will change to a desire where they will only think about how to do good to others and by to do good to the Creator. What's the relation between doing good to everyone and doing good to the Creator or the upper force? Undoubtedly, these things are related. That if I wish to cause good to the Creator, then I have to do it only by way of doing good to others. What does he care? Why do I care? Because I will know and feel that it is good in the eyes of people and the eyes of the upper force. How do the sages of Kabbalah know that at some point there will be the last generation? They see it, they attain it, they feel it. Of course, each according to their own degree, but they do attain it. That they reach a state of love another as yourself, where love another as yourself will develop more and more until the entire world will become included in this mutual relation between everyone. What's the purpose of this entire great picture? What is its purpose? Why do we need to build such a society? What for? by it. We reach such closeness between us to the point where we adhere to the Creator, the upper force, and this is the goal that He set for us. Can you explain? The Creator's purpose in creating the world and creating people is that they will reach the same quality of love as He has, as He is. And when we come to that, that is called the last generation, the end of development. What will happen at the end of the last generation, at the very end? Unconditional love between everyone. And by that, we reach adhesion with the Creator Himself. What will happen in the world then, when that happens? We all become included in the Creator, which is what? We become included in an unlimited, unbounded, infinite force of love and bestowal. And how many generations will continue living in this state? When we reach this state, we stop feeling time. The time, the concept of time no longer exists because nothing can change from bad to good, from good to better. But we reach a state called Ein Sof, endlessness. Man does? Yeah, of course. All people, without exception. Before we continue, the simplest definition for the last generation is what? The last generation is the generation in which all people reach mutual love between them without any limitations. Why is it that when you talk about it, it makes me feel so, even the word joy is too little to describe it. It's so good, so warm, so... What is it? Because it's really a generation that rises above all obstacles, disputes, separation. Its purpose is for all those people alive that they'll be able to do good to each other. Okay, I once heard you say that today we've already entered an era called the last generation. What do you mean? The period of the last generation. We're at the very beginning of this era of the last generation, where we can already learn what that is, to some extent, as much as we can understand it, and to try and come closer to these concepts and even implement them. What signs do you see today in the world that point at the fact that we've entered the period of the last generation? The signs are that nature, in the development of humanity and each and every one, and the big, broad nature, it entirely starts teaching us that we have no choice but to reach mutual bestowal, everyone towards everyone. What do you mean by mutual bestowal? Mutual bestowal means that everyone thinks about everyone to their benefit, and this is how we need to build ourselves, our society, our relations. Suppose now that I heard you say these things, what am I supposed to think about now in order to start advancing toward the state of the last generation? The last generation means the last to hate, last in competition, last in relation to all the bad things in the relationships between people. So what do I have to do toward the people around me in order to advance towards that? To try and do good to everyone. This will advance us towards it, yeah? Even if only I start thinking about it, yeah? You don't have to do anything besides to work in thought. Why is it to our benefit, this entire process? Because by that, we're advancing toward the Creator. So much so that we become integrated in Him, we discover Him. How will we feel when we discover the Creator? That He fills our entire reality, mind and heart. Is it strong? Is it powerful? Yeah. It's endlessness. How do you personally feel about the times that we're living in? Are you concerned? Are you afraid? Are you excited? No, I'm not excited and I'm not afraid. I simply live these things joyfully for being created in such a generation, and that I too can help others and tell about it, and maybe even to advance them toward it. So first of all, thank you very much on part of humanity that you're explaining these wonderful things to us. I want to ask about one more aspect. In the last generation, people who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah, why the last generation? Because the wisdom of Kabbalah talks about the laws that develop us, that lead us toward the purpose of our development, and therefore, all of us need to study the wisdom of Kabbalah and implement it. And this is what we see that is going on in our times. Why were people less needy of this wisdom in previous generations? They felt no need for it. They lacked inner development. And today, people, already by different reasons, even in light of what's going on in the world, in nature, everyone's like talking about the end of the world. That the world has already exhausted itself. And therefore, they talk about it. They feel that the world has no point in existing in the way that it does. The prophet says about the last generation, all shall know me from small to great. What does it say? It's the Creator that speaks of His revelation to everyone, that He will be revealed to everyone, become revealed to everyone, to the small, to the wise, to the foolish, to the everyone, to all of mankind. All the billions will discover that there is an upper force that encompassed them and brought them to the state of the last generation. I have a not-so-pleasant question. When you described the situation of the last generation, it sounded so beautiful that I as if wanted to leap into it already. But when I open my eyes and I see the world that we really live in, it is headed toward catastrophes. And people are the worst, are the most egoistic from all the generations that we had. So how from this so shattered place will we come to the beautiful place that you talked about? Because it seems like the exact opposite direction, right? So it says, it really says so. Even the great people who saw this process used to say that they don't want to live in the generations of the last generation. Why? Because back then, because in that period, insolence will grow, hate among everyone, everything will be, man's terrible nature will become ever more revealed. And there will also be pressures and wars and different occurrences up to the point where people will become completely despaired of their form of existence, and all shall cry out, all shall cry out, and then the situation will change, and a calm state, calm and good state will come. What kind of an outcry is it? It's an outcry that they need to turn to the Creator and ask Him for help, cry out for help. They understand that they have no means of how to change this terrible world that from one day to the next is becoming ever worse. And then when they will cry out, and then they will turn to the Creator because there's no one else left to turn to, and He will change their reality. Change them, He'll make man new. Yeah? What kind of change will happen in the person, in his mind, in his heart? In his heart. That man's heart will open up to others. Do you think that humanity needs to know that there is a final stop to our development that's great? Yeah, and also what will happen before that? That we are now in the beginning of the last generation, meaning very unpleasant states. And we see how it's really so. But still, we're not there yet. We're not suffering that bad. We're not yet in a state where we have no choice and we need to yell out to the Creator. Still, the recognition of evil is not yet accumulated in us enough that we have no choice. And Kabbalah can help us with this. Of course, Kabbalah explains the entire process and tells us how to reach this stage. Can we do it with less suffering? It all depends on how much those studying the wisdom of Kabbalah will tell about it to everyone, and everyone will hear about it and will understand that they can really shorten their development, the process of their development. So it really has to do with understanding. Yeah, that's the main thing. Unfortunately, our time's almost up. You taught me many things about the last generation today. What is the simplest definition for the last generation? The end of the development of human beings under the bad forces in human nature. The bad forces of the human nature. How can all these things we talked about, how can they contribute to my personal development that you will want to develop more quickly than the pressure of development pushes you, reaches you and pushes you. So we need to rate quicker than the evolutional forces that push us. Yeah? Might we not reach the last generation? No. We're already after the last generation. Meaning, in our development, we're already at the end of correction. But we need to come to that in a conscious way where we feel it. So it's a predetermined state? Yeah. So the main scene in this movie called Mankind already exists. Yeah. What do you wish us? What do you wish me personally as someone who just started taking interest in the wisdom of Kabbalah in relation to the last generation? Read what the wisdom of Kabbalah says about the development of man. Build the final picture for yourself and examine the measure in which you can already now become integrated in that state, and good luck to you. Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman. Thank you for being with us. Basic concepts in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Good luck to all.